Alright guys, in this video we are going to be taking a look at some more Salamangreat free-to-play / budget deck for the Attribute 4 event. The difference between this video and my last one though is we are going to be taking a look at some more advanced combos and analyzing some game states. I think for pretty much all these matches I'll probably go second. So we're going to go up against some loner decks which you might see with this deck when you're playing it. So how do you counteract like this one? This is I think the most popular one. This is the Spring Vernusylph version. It's actually fairly decent. But how do we play against it? What are some of the common things we want to counteract? And what are some of the advanced combos and advanced thinking that we want to apply when playing Salamangreat? So just taking a second to break down this hand. You never really want to draw this card. You want to search it off Balinks, obviously. So this is a dead card, unfortunately. But we do have a Foxy and a Spinny, right? So we're going to summon Foxy. Don't activate the effect because you can only activate one Foxy effect per turn, either the Excavate 3 or the Bring It Back from the Graveyard. We definitely want to bring this back from the graveyard. So normal summon, don't activate the effect, link off into Balinks, and then trigger the effect to discard a Salamangreat card. We actually want to discard the Spinny. You want it in your graveyard, and then special summon the Foxy back. So we activate the Sanctuary because we already have it in hand, so we can't search it off Balinks, obviously. The opponent does reveal they have Called By, so they're going to stop the Foxy when we try to activate the effect. But funny enough, like if they have Called By, you probably want to activate this preemptively, because getting the Spinny into the graveyard is actually good. Like the cost of discarding the Spinny is positive for me. Like, you know, I guess it doesn't matter because you can activate Spinny's effect to target a monster, have it gain 500 attack and get into the graveyard that way anyways. But, you know, you probably want to Call By early if you can. Because if I end up pitching a Jaguar, I guess I could, use Sanctuary, special summon, another Balinks, put back the Balinks with Jaguar and get and further extend my plays, right? So it's neither here nor there, but what we're going to do at this point is actually realize that there's no real purpose or extensions that we can play by going into Salamangreat monsters. So we're going to go for Splash Mage into Heat Soul. This is the line for your Heat Soul, right? Because Heat Soul requires 2 Cyberse monsters with different attributes. So we have to go through Splash Mage because we don't play any other attributes other than fire, basically, right? So Splash Mage is going to once again recur the Spinny and link off into Heat Soul. Now, why am I doing this? Because again, looking at the game state, it's a fairly simplified game state. We know they have a Vernusylph card in hand. If this also goes to the graveyard by card effect, like destroyed by card effect or battle, it's going to search for another card, giving them extension play. So we don't want to actually do that. Instead, we want to draw on our turn, draw on our opponent's turn, start gaining the resources. Whatever they end up playing on the field, we can negate with infinite impermanence. So it's going to depend on what we draw, and this is going to put us very far ahead. You know, back in the day when I played, we played a card called Air Knight Parshath in our Chaos decks because it was a light level 5 tribute monster with 1900 attack. When you attacked and inflicted battle damage, it also had piercing battle damage effect. You would draw a card. That card was amazing because it gave you card advantage. Now in the modern game, Engine is what gives you your card advantage, right? You'd rather have Engine than draw power. But we'll go over that in a second. So the opponent draws for turn, and we're going to draw during their turn as well. So you can already see we drew 2 very good cards, and we're going to draw for our turn next turn. So we're going to be +3 just from this Heat Soul, essentially. I mean, I know I'm counting the draw for turn, but hey, it's resources still, right? So they're going to Regeki the board, and that's totally fine because we actually don't want them to run their Asa into the Heat Soul to get a search. But again, whatever they summon to the field, we're going to be able to interrupt it with impermanence. So we have control of the game. The Heat Soul gave us the advantage we needed to extend our plays further. And we also have Will of the Salamangreat. Again, in the decklist video that I linked in the description, I'd say that I do like to play 2 of this card because it is very good. It's your continuous monster reborn, and it has a very nice secondary effect to get back more than 1 monster from the graveyard. So looking at what our play is next, Signet Mining, discarding Buffalo. You might think, well, why don't you summon the Buffalo and then link it off into the Balinks, discard the Gazelle and draw 2? You just said draw power is amazing. Yeah, but I also said Engine is usually better. And instead of drawing 2 random cards, why not craft what I want based off the Engine cards that I have? I already said in my previous video, analyzing matches, that Gazelle is the best Salamangreat card, and you're going to see why. So we're going to normal summon Jack, send it to the graveyard by linking it up to Balinks. Now we're going to trigger Gazelle, summon it, and you're going to say, well, why did you jump Trap? There's no extension of Trap. Again, looking at the game state, this is a simplified game state. If I can keep the opponent on no resources, I'm going to win this game easily in the grind game. So the imperm is 1 slowdown, like it's going to negate, it's going to trade 1 for 1 basically, right? It's going to stop a monster effect. This Omni Negate is going to stop another card. They have 2 cards, so if I can stop 1 with imperm, 1 with the roar, that's probably going to slow them down enough since the Vernusylph cards usually need another card in hand in order to activate their effects, right? So they're going to discard an Earth monster in order to bring one out. I'm going to negate that effect entirely if that's what they go for, right? Or negate the Asa, Imperm, whatever they end up bringing to the field. You know, there's different combinations that I would set up here to keep control of the game. In addition, I'm going to bring out the Spinny from the graveyard with Spinny effect. Go into Mirage Dahlia. Activate Mirage Dahlia effect. This locks me into fire monster effects, but that's all I'm going to use. You saw me bring out the Falco, okay? Link off Falco into into Sunlight Wolf. Falco's effect triggers in the graveyard. Okay, when this card is sent to the graveyard, target one Salamangreat spell or trap, set it to my field. I set the roar that I sent with Gazelle. This gives me complete control of the game at this point, right? The opponent has basically no play through this. Like, I mean, yeah, they would need to have like, not even Dark Ruler evenly matched, like nothing would break this, right? Because evenly matched would still be negated by roar. Like there's literally nothing they can do, I don't think. We're gonna now activate Jack and return a Gazelle to our hand from the Sunlight Wolf effect, and off Jack we returned a Sunlight Wolf. So just like always, we've got 2 Sunlight Wolves back in the extra deck to extend if we need to as well. Now we're going to out the Asa in a different way than beating over it, which would trigger its effect. Because we use Mirage Dahlia to link off into a Salamangreat monster, we're able to spin back the Asa to the extra deck, which will not trigger the effect. Look at what we're at now. The opponent has 1 Vernusylph card in hand. We have Omni Negate, Monster Negate, resources on board. We activate Wolf's effect to bring back the Will of the Salamangreat, which I made a mistake on right there. When I sent it, I forgot that I had to select both the monsters on the screen. It's not like select one, then select another one. So keep that in mind. So I just wasted it, but I brought it back anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I could have had 2 monsters on board here, which, you know, if I was playing Appaloosa, I can make a 3 material Appaloosa, and then that's 3 monster negates, a 4th monster negate in the Imperm, and a column negate, and a roar for Omni negate. Like, you can just see that the complete control with Salamangreat is crazy. So at this point, the opponent has nothing. This is likely an Imperm, that's why they set it in this column. And they set their Vernusylph card, which has 2000 defense. So now it's pretty much just free real estate. We're going to go into Heat Leo, and the reason is because we want these diagonal zones opened up, because that's going to allow us to force out the back row and trigger the Sunlight Wolf first of all. But we're going to negate the Imperm because there's nothing else the opponent has that we would want to negate. We end up off of Sunlight Wolf. What do we want to return to our hand? Well, we target the Mirage Dahlia, put it back to the extra deck, and then activate Jack Jaguar, put back the Sunlight Wolf. So once again, we have 2 Sunlight Wolves in our extra deck, and we have the Mirage Dahlia back in our extra deck. Now we're going to go ahead and make Dugaris with the 2 rank 4s, the Falco, and the Jack Jaguar. So even though you only play like 3 rank 4s, 3 level 4s, you're still able to make rank 4s consistently because they recur themselves, right? What is this going to do? This is, again, a cheap option if you're looking for, like, how do I OTK? Dugaris will detach 2 materials, double the attack of 1 monster, and you skip your next battle phase. So we can make this Heat Leo 4600 attack. Okay, so we're going to activate Will and bring out Spinny, then activate Spinny effect in the graveyard to bring itself out on its own effect. Link off into Transcode, which we know we can't activate the effect because we used Mirage Dahlia effect, and we're totally fine. We just need something over 2000 attack to beat over this card. And then they only have 4400 life left, so Dugaris making this 46 will be able to attack for game. And sure enough, I mean, we don't even need the Gazelle extensions, but yeah, why not, right? Look at the resource management here. So Dugaris activates, bring back even the roar off of Falco going to the graveyard again from being detached as material, and we have the Salamangreat card to make this live, the Link monster. So Transcode attack over the defense monster, and then Heat Leo attack for game. Just getting some random challenges in for gaining life, and you can see Salamangreat once again. Total domination. Let's go on to the next one. Alright, I think this is going to be the final match in this video, if it even made it into the clip, or into this video if it's not too long already. But we lost this coin toss and our opponent made us go first. Again, looking at their sleeves, they're likely playing an OTK deck for this event, so it's their own deck, not a loner deck. In this scenario, it was kind of interesting. So you notice that we summoned Foxy and used the Excavate effect, which I think is the first time I've used it in any of my matches. And the reason is because I had nothing to send in my hand that I want to send in order to trigger Foxy. Because remember, we excavated this off the top. I didn't want to send the Rage. I wanted to keep it in hand because I'm going first. This card is actually a great interrupt during the opponent's turn. So off of the excavation, why did we take Roar and not Spinny or Falco? Well, because this is an amazing turn 1 play, and you're going to see what we're going to do here. into the Balinks, grab the field spell, but also summon the Parallel Exceed. Parallel Exceed is going to summon another one to the field, and that's going to go into Splash Mage. Again, we don't care about the restriction about being locked into Cyber, so we're going to go ahead and bring out another Parallel Exceed from the graveyard, and now use that Splash Mage and that Exceed to make Heat Soul. Heat Souls draws into one of the 6 consistency searches we have in the deck. So we're going to activate Mining and pitch the Roar because the opponent knows we have Roar. And now, why would you pitch that? You want to use that on turn 1. This is a great card to counter anything the opponent does on their turn. Yeah, but we're just going to get it back. This is what Salamangreat does. You need to be able to think ahead with this deck, right? So of course we search for Gazelle because it is the card for Salamangreat. Link off into the Sunlight Wolf. That triggers the Gazelle because a Salamangreat card was sent to the graveyard. And then trigger both the effects. Bring back Foul with the Wolf effect since something was special summoned to its zone. And then dump Spinny with Gazelle. Activate Sanctuary, use Sanctuary effect to bring out Wolf with its own material, and then bring back the Roar, just like I said, with the Sunlight Wolf effect. Now, when you summon Wolf with its own material, it's going to ask you, do you want to activate Roar effect to set itself to the field? Say no, because if you do that, when you activate the Roar, it will be banished, meaning you cannot recur it with the Sunlight Wolf. Why wouldn't we recur it with Sunlight Wolf when it's the only Salamangreat spell or trap that we're going to bring back, right? So obviously we would just bring it back with Wolf and keep it to recycle if we need to, rather than just have it be banished. So again, just use some logic. You'll understand once you play the deck a little bit how that works. Bring out the Spinny with its inherent ability to be special summoned. For the Mirage Dahlia, it doesn't get banished because it's attached as an Xyz material, and we just get a free other material on board. So the interruptions that we have, Ash Blossom, a draw on the opponent's turn, so we're going to out advantage them for sure. A pop 2, because we control a Link summon monster with its own material, that's a Link 2, and a Omni Negate counter as long as we keep the Sunlight Wolf on board, and we can banish the Balinks to keep our cards alive. The opponent does indeed reveal that they're on Gem Knight OTK, so we're going to go ahead and let this fusion resolve. Argument could be made that you want to Ash that, but we're going to save our cards until the opponent commits their normal summon, which they do in the Gem Knight Alexandrite. And this is going to pop Scatter Fusion, which will pop the fusion, as well as pop the monster that they want to tribute to special summon a Gem Knight from their deck. This card, when sent to the graveyard, will return the Roar and their set card to their hand, which is fine, but it does mean we lose our Omni Negate if the opponent did have any other extensions, which they reveal that they do. They're going to set another Scattered Fusion, but this card is once per turn, so no reason to try to interrupt it, not that we could anyways with what's left on our board and hand. We have to worry a little bit about this face down card, I guess, but once again, we are going to draw even more cards. That's 3 free draws off of Heat Soul for the cost of 3,000 life points. The opponent reveals that their face down card is a Fragment Fusion, bringing out a Gem Knight Lady, Brilliant Diamond, and then getting a search, I think, or sorry, a recursion from one of these cards being banished, I think. So we're going to continue to extend plays here. Bringing back the Foxy, again, we'll pop the card on the opponent's field, and then using the Gazelle at this point to also dump a Falco. Now Falco can return the Gazelle and summon itself back to the field. Then link off into Heat Leo. No effect to really use. The reason we do that is really just to use Mirage Dahlia effect to spin back the fusion monster. Now we're just going to go ahead and make Dugaris. Now Dugaris will, once again, double the attack of a monster on the field. And since Heat Leo is pointing to one monster, it will gain 500 attack. So it's going to make this thing 5,600. We also bring the Spinny back from its own effect from the graveyard. And you can already tell we have game on board, bringing out the Jaguar by returning the Mirage Dahlia. And even though we sacked the Mirage Dahlia or linked it off during this turn, we're still able to bring it out and activate its effect because we were able to recycle it with Jaguar. So you can just see the recursion and the engine power of Salamangreat. Look at our hand as well. Like, we have 4 different interruptions, 5 interruptions, draw power. Like, yeah, like, it's crazy, right? I mean, that's the power of Salamangreat. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. That's it for it, though. For the matches, Quantum is out. Alright guys, quick caveat here. I wanted to address something real quick with Salamangreat because it is a problem that you don't have your access code or like Avermax for your like OTK lines, but there are some alternative options. So you've seen me use Dugaris in these videos already, which definitely can help you boost up like Heat Soul up to as much as 6,600, because if you summon it in your extra monster zone and have monsters in the zones that these arrows point to, it'll go up to 3,300 times 2 is 6,600, which will beat over any towers pretty much. Give you OTK potential, and it's just overall very powerful, right? So that's one option. Dugaris is very good. It also has some other utility if you need like draws and then discard a card, which then you can extend, like you discard Spinny, bring it back or something. So there's those options as well. You could play Blackluster Soldier. I'm only including this because you can get it from the sales structure of the Gaia deck, but it is Earth and it is Warrior, so it does conflict quite heavily, and you're not likely to summon this off of a parallel Exceed that you bring back with Splash Mage, unless you can keep that Exceed on board for another turn, because you'll be locked into Cybers when you use this effect to bring this back, which would make it to level 8. So I wouldn't probably not play this, but it is an option. It's very powerful if you can resolve it, so is one other option. Sarayudra is also a good option. I was actually testing this on another account where I had this card from a pack, like a master pack. I got it. And because you put so many materials on board, you can get it on field with the 4 materials, which will get you a draw 3. Draw 4 and put back 3, which is really good. It also gives you another free special summon from your hand, and then it will also give you an additional attack boost for monsters to point that are in the zones that this card points to. So Sarayudra could be a decent option, and again, this card has some utility in other decks. Dugaras has utility in other decks. A pretty interesting card that I didn't even know existed, I was just looking through the Link monsters and noticed this card, it is fire, so you can use it under Mirage Dahlia. And since it functions well with Links, it's probably going to be summoned to the field with like over 3,000 attack, because by the time you bring this out with the Salamangreat Links, you're going to gain a bunch of attack, and it also counts for any links your opponent has as well. And then it has the effect that if this card is destroyed, you bring back a Link 3 or lower monster from your graveyard. And if this card is in your graveyard and that Link 3 monster or any Link 3 monster is destroyed, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one card in the field, and destroy it. So some pretty nice effects for a super rare, and a 3,000 plus body most likely when it hits the field. It's a decent option. Additionally, you can go with the Salamangreat Link 4. I probably would not craft this just because you need to craft 2 to essentially make it effective, so it can be summoned with its own material. And this is a card that's only usable in Salamangreat, nothing else. So it's kind of a 60-point waste. I'm not even going to go over the effect because of that. And then the final card, which actually is useful, I do have this on another alt, but the Appaloosa, because you bring so many materials to the field, making this a 4 material, like 4 interruption monster negate, is very powerful. It'll be 3,200 attack, so it's a big body. Again, it is a wind and fairy, so if you're locked into Cybers or fire effects, you can't use the effect or summon this even. But usually, if you're in the game state where you're able to bring out those materials, you can lock down the match kind of just by bringing this out, and the opponent won't be able to do anything. So yeah, it's a pretty good card to make for a boss monster as well. So take those into consideration. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you guys. Take care.